Hi there, and welcome to the Dare to Care with Michelle podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Wyman. I am here to help you live a healthier and happier life with simple tips and a touch of grace so you can feel your best inside and out. Each episode, my guest and I will offer you real talk about personal growth, embracing authenticity, empowering you on your journey to well-being. Whether you're looking for practical advice or the encouragement to show up as your true self, you're in the right place. Are you ready to join the Dare to Care movement? Okay, then, let's go. You guys, I am so excited. Not only is this season 3, episode 1 of Dare to Care with Michelle, I have the most special gift for you guys today. Mignon Francois. She's a #1 best-selling author, entrepreneur, renowned baker who inspired millions on her journey from going from drowning in debt to building a multi-million-dollar cupcake empire, the Cupcake Collection. She leveraged her $5 to feed her family, turned it into a legacy with over 5 million cupcakes sold. Her grassroots story has garnered national attention, from Today with Hoda and Jenna, Southern Living, Entrepreneur, and Business Insiders, just to name a few. She's the author of Made from Scratch, Finding Success Without a Recipe, where she shares her story of finding success with no presets in place. Mignon is committed to equipping and empowering people to change the trajectory of their lives. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us the story. Tell us all about how this all came about.
Yeah, I was drowning in debt and brokenness. I was losing everything that I had. I was an avid Dave Ramsey listener, and he was telling people they could get out of debt by having a bake sale or a garage sale. But we sold everything we had to move to Nashville, so I guess it's going to be a bake sale. Problem with the bake sale is I didn't know how to bake, not even out of a box. But I had these two awesome daughters who were baking every day, and so I thought that they could handle the volume of a bake sale. Shortly after we got started with the idea, my oldest daughter let me know she really wasn't interested in mom's little bakery idea, and she was going back to New Orleans where we were from. So without her, my youngest daughter is not interested in mom's little bakery idea. So now I've got to go figure out not only how to build this business, but how to build a recipe at the same time. So I start practicing my recipes, feeding my family with everything I had to create this, taking them across the street to my neighbors throughout my whole neighborhood. So my neighborhood was really more like a town.
Yeah.
And Nashville, they always say it's a big little town, a little big town.
Yeah.
Um, and so they were always encouraging me, oh, this is good. Somebody should try these. When my neighbor across the street knocked on my door, I was sitting in my house with no electricity because we couldn't afford it. We were running a house on a generator, so my husband would go to the store, during the day, go work during the day, and then with whatever money he could pull together, we would get gas for our generator to run the house. During the day, though, I would sit in the house in total darkness so that I could save up the gas in the generator so that my family could have some semblance of normalcy when they got home after school. So she knocked on the door and asked me to make cupcakes for all of her clients for Christmas. And I had been sitting in the back of the house trying to begin this Dave Ramsey baby steps plan of, saving some money or paying your bills by an envelope system, doing the snowball, to debt. But all I had was $5 and hadn't fed my family. And so when she asked me for this, I was kind of thinking I would say no. And she saw the perplexity on my face and says, listen, as you pay me, as you make some, I'll pay you for some. And I said, so you mean if I make a few, you'll pay me for whatever I make for you? She agreed. And so I closed the door, accepting the offer. I remember going to have a come to Jesus moment with God and say, how in the world would you give me this opportunity? I've been begging you for opportunities like this, but you give me this opportunity when I can't take it, when I don't have any money. And it quickened in my spirit that God feeds birds and they don't toil or store up in barns, yet they have everything that they need. How much more would he give to me who looks like him?
Yeah.
And so I put my shoes on and I walked to the store a couple blocks from my house, the Kroger. I bought everything I could buy with that $5 that I had, and I turned that five into 60 that day. I
Wow.
turned that 60 into 600 by the end of the week. And I had been flipping that same money from 2007 to 2017 when I met a banker who showed me how to really leverage my money. And so I just want your listeners to know that it doesn't matter what it looks like. All you have is all you need to get from where you are to where it is that you want to be. I think a lot of times we want big, we want big equipment to start our businesses. We want a fleet of cars. We want a really large team. And
Right.
you will need all of those things one day, but you do not need all of those things on day one. And that's what I learned through the process is that if I would just do one day at a time, one step at a time, one cupcake at a time, it would take me from where I was to where I wanted to be.
That is really amazing. And I just enjoyed that, taking $5 and turning it to 60 and then to 600 and to just keep growing it. And it's like, that's what God teaches. God gives us what we need.
Mm-hmm.
And we just, like you said, I want it all right now. And
Mm-hmm.
that is so fantastic. So I was fortunate enough to hear you at Kathy Heller's Summit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling you before we hit record, one of my favorite things in the whole summit was you and the I am statements. Let's talk a little bit about that and how this, how does this create, how's it created? Tell me about it.
Yeah. So there's a story in the Bible about Moses, right? And he is being told to go before Pharaoh and free the children of God
Right.
and or God's chosen people. And he says, no, I don't even speak well. And God replied to him, did I not make you? And he said, get somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
And God said, well, then you could just die.
Oh.
And it was his wife that stood in the gap for him and bought him another chance to go and do what God was sending him to do.
Right.
Which is an indication to us that we all are created for a purpose, and our purpose is expected to be fulfilled.
Right.
So I learned from that story that you will close your eyes and forever sleep for one or two reasons. Either you fulfill your purpose or you ignored it. And so he decides to take the assignment and he says to God, if I go, who shall I tell them sent me? And he says to tell them that I am is my name. And as I've done research on what that meant in the original language, I am, the way that he said it meant, I will be whatever I need to be. I will become whatever I need to become. And so what I realized about I am is always present.
Yes.
It's always the present tense.
Yes.
I heard one scholarly teacher say it like this: it's called the eternal isness of God.
Oh, that's great.
This I am is past, it's present, and it's future. He just always is. And so in my studying, it dawned on me that I couldn't introduce myself without it. That if I ever introduce myself to anyone, I'm saying, hello, hi, I am Mignon Francois, which means I'm taking God with me everywhere that I go. But the promise, the biblical promise is, I will never leave you. So if the biblical promise is, I will never leave you, and every time I introduce myself to someone new, he's coming with me, he's fulfilling the promise of, I will never leave you. When I introduce myself and I have to say, I am, which is a fulfillment of, and I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. What God showed me in our time together was, I am is my first name. That all along I had been thinking that Mignon was my first name when I am is my first name. Hence why I can't introduce myself without it. So when people say, well, who are you? I am comes first.
Right.
What I learned in the process also was that the I am makes it all possible. For the Bible says, for nothing shall be impossible with God. And so if you look at with God making all things possible, then you can consider the word impossible as a contraction word, which
Yes.
would then be I am possible, because the I am makes all things possible to them who believe. So on the day that I was born, my parents gave me a gift. They gave me the gift of my first name so that when I walk in a room, you would know that it is me that you're referring to. Or if someone's telling a story about Mignon, you would know that it was me. On the day that I was born, they also gave me the gift of their name so that I would know whose I was. So my name tells me who I am. Their name tells me whose I am. So my family name says that Mignon belongs to the Terrio clan, because that was my maiden name.
Right.
But then on the day that I was born, God also gave me his name so that I would know that nothing should be too hard for me in collaboration with him, because he would be with me. Whether I made my bed in hell, he would be there.
Yeah.
Or if it was up in the sky, that he would be there. No matter where I went, he would never leave me. And so the I am makes all things possible.
And you guys see, this is why I was so excited when Mignon said yes, because it's so amazing. The way you explain it, the way you talk about it, the way you glow when you talk about I am. Are you ready to step into your power and embrace your full potential? Join the Dare to Empower Her journey, a movement designed to inspire, support, and empower you to live your boldest, most authentic life. It's time to embrace your inner strength. Let's rise together, because when women empower each other, we change the world. Are you ready to make the journey? Join the Dare to Empower Her journey today. I've been following on Instagram your Proverbs series, and just having so much fun with that too. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, thank you for letting me know that. So I have been getting a lot of requests from people, and just hearing a lot of my friends and such say, we need, we want to learn the Bible. How do you just rattle off scripture like this?
Yeah.
And it's because it's been a part of my entire life. I have meditated on the scriptures my entire life. And so I thought, so my pastor one day told me, Proverbs is a great place for entrepreneurs because there's 31 of them, which means there's one for every day of the month. And so you can get so much wisdom on how to run a business, a family, a relationship right out of the book of Proverbs. So since January had 31 days in it, I thought this would be a wonderful opportunity to, start attacking some of the things that I was hearing people say they wanted, and then to end it with Proverbs 31. And the reason why Proverbs 31 is so important to me is because it is the mother to a king, telling him how to find a good woman or a good wife. And because so many of us that are connected to me are women, are wives, are mothers, I always wanted to embody that. And what's so funny, and I don't mean funny, haha, but kind of just like weird, is that the more I wanted to be a Proverbs 31 woman and the closer I became to it, the more my husband didn't like me.
Yeah.
And the more that I began to grow and develop, because we got married when I was 19 years old. The more I became a grown woman and developing into my purpose and my calling, the more he didn't like me.
Yeah.
And so I think this particular book and this particular chapter is a special place in my heart because I know that it resonates with a lot of people, and a lot of women just are fueled by the flame, or fan the flame of what can I do with my life and how can I be a valuable asset in the world. And so that's what I love about Pride.
That's awesome. Similar to you, as I got married very young. I got married younger than you because I got pregnant in high school. So I got married at 16, and
Mm.
I was married. I had 3 kids by the time I was 24. And then I went to nursing school. And the higher I went in the nursing world, the higher up I went into leadership, the less he liked me. And
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, at work, I was Wonder Woman. I could do anything. And at home, I was a 16-year-old high school dropout.
Mm.
And when I stopped being a 16-year-old high school dropout and started accepting my purpose, is when he's like, oh, I don't. So I also have a husband, but I also have a husband who is amazing, who is a believer. And our first date, he said at the end of it, do you want to go to church with me on Sunday? So I was like, I guess I got to keep this guy.
Yeah, I love that. I love that for you.
Yes,
I'm
yeah.
believing God for that for me one day too, but just, it's not in this season, but
And we just never know when it's going to happen.
yeah,
I was not looking. I tell you, I
yeah,
tell people that all the time. I was married for 28 years,
yeah.
and I was not looking for another. And God kind of dropped one in my lap, and even when he asked me out originally, and he said, "Do you want to?" We were at a bar, and it was a ladies' night, and I was with my daughter, my aunt, and my best friend, and he said, "Can I get your number?" I said, "Oh, I don't give my number to boys in bars." And then when we were outside waiting for our designated driver, he came out of the bar and he said, "We're not in the bar anymore. Can I have your phone number?" Um, I guess. So, persistence for him.
Yes,
So
I love that.
let's talk a little bit about your book, Made from Scratch. Tell me about it. I'm really
Yeah.
excited to read it. I've not gotten it yet, but I do have it ordered. It just hasn't gotten here from Amazon yet.
Well, I'm so excited for you to get it. It's a playbook. It basically tells the story of how I came out of the darkness,
Wow.
right? So when you're in your darkest place, God knows how to navigate in the dark. And a lot of times we feel like, nobody sees me. Nobody knows what I'm going through. But God knows, and he sees in the dark. And the creation story is an indication that he knows how to navigate in the dark too,
Right?
and cause light to come out of darkness. And so I just wanted people to be able to hear my story and turn the mirror on themselves and see themselves and know that they're not alone. I get super transparent, very vulnerable in this book, telling things that I never told anyone before, but I spilled it all in the book for the world. Some of it, I even had to go to my children and ask, was it okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because it wasn't just my life, it was their life too. But the thing that I am most encouraged by is all of the women and the men who are coming to me and saying they needed that story and they needed to know that they were not alone. And I just wanted to be with you at 3 o'clock in the morning when you collided with God, wanted to be with you at 12 o'clock in the afternoon if you're on the other side of the world and I'm in my bed sleeping. To be able to share my story so that you could know what you could do if only you believed. And when I say coming from nothing, losing everything, zilch, zero, nada, I wanted people to know that from there, the only place is up.
Yeah.
What I love about God is that he's not a respecter of persons. So the very fact that you get to collide with my book and my story is your indication that the opportunity is available to you to do the same thing that I did. The promise that Jesus left as he was leaving earth and going back to heaven, or going to heaven to take his place on the throne next to his Father, was greater things than these will you be able to do than I have done, because I'm sending you a helper.
Yeah.
And so we have a helper that will help us accomplish the things that it is that we want to see in the world. And just going through all of the things I've been through, even on my team, I always say God sends me women who have been through or going through what I've been through,
Yeah.
so that they would know that they don't have to stay there. And that's what this book is all about.
Yeah, I love that. Our stories have so much similarity. My marriage was not pleasant. It was abusive.
Mm-hmm.
And when I would ask my patients the question, do you feel safe at home? That was that was a question all nurses are required to ask all over the country. Wherever you go to the hospital, every nurse is required to ask that. And I was the only one that would ever get, no, I don't. And I'm like, what is going on? Why am I the one that has to keep following up on this? And it's because God sent me into their world, and they knew that they were, without me saying to them, hey, I've been abused, they knew that they had a safe spot to land right here.
Something about the spirit living in you, recognize the spirit living in me, and it was easy.
Yeah.
It was easy to be vulnerable. It was easy to be transparent. It was easy to be honest, because I said this earlier today. I don't believe we are just humans to come into this world and just to do, and just to live mediocre lives. I believe we're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Right.
And when our spirits are allowed to become whatever they need to become,
yeah,
then they can do whatever they were called to do. I just believe so wholeheartedly in that you were sent. There are many other nurses that could have gone to their rooms, but you were sent to those rooms, and you didn't go into those rooms by accident.
Right. Exactly. Going off your bio, and you came from nothing. You had no electricity. You had the generator that you would put gas in, and then you would sit in the dark. And now you've been featured on national TV media like the Today Show and Business Insider. Do you ever go, is this my real life?
Absolutely. I still see the people coming and standing in lines, and I'm like, really, God? God, I thank you. You know what I mean? I walk up to my vehicle. My kids were insistent on me when my car broke, going to get whatever. Mom, we want you to just dream, and just every time I walk up to unlock the door, I say, thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm renovating a house that I'm building it by my paycheck.
Right.
In the sense of, I want to own where I lay my head. And I don't know how I'm doing it, Michelle.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm grateful that every day God is making a way for this place to be a sanctuary for me to rest, that will belong to me. And looking back on losing everything, and my house being up for foreclosure sale. And, I just, I have not come so far that I have forgot where God has brought me from.
Yeah.
And I believe that God sends us seasons to season us.
Yeah.
And I'm currently in a seasoning state where, I feel like I'm going to the next level. I'm going higher. And whenever you're being seasoned, it's just kind of like whenever you're boiling a pot of stew, or, like I love to make stewed chicken, or gumbo, I'm from New
Yeah.
Orleans.
Yeah.
Um, and when the more you let the water boil and let all of the ingredients in there simmer together, some of the water is going to evaporate out,
Right.
and you'll end up with a thick gravy. So it starts out with, just a very thin pot of water
Right.
that boils down to a very thick roux or gravy that has all of the flavor from the pot on the inside. And I'm just encouraged, and hope someone else is encouraged by this, that that's what it looks like to walk through seasons, that God will allow the heat to get turned up. And you might feel like you can't breathe. It might feel like you're losing everything. You might be actually losing some stuff in some people.
Mm.
But what's really happening is that flavor is developing on the inside. It's going to take you from where you are to where it is that you want to be. And what I feel about what I heard when I said flavor was favor. I believe that failure in one season is favor in a season that's coming.
Yeah.
See, what you don't know is that as you go through these trials, they're teaching you something about the future that you can't handle right now, or you won't be able to handle then unless you go through this season that you're in right now.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's that whole, one of my favorite things is what I go through, I grow through.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important to just remember that, even we talked a little bit about losing our dogs, and just going through losing Bruno has taught me so much. On even I told you, someone told me, well, it would have been easier if he would have been sick, and I said, gosh, it would have been easier for me, but I'm so thankful that he wasn't, because he was never in pain. But it took somebody to say those words to me for me to not to, like, ding ding, realize what I felt on that. You inspire. I just love you, and you're so inspiring, your personal journey. What advice do you give to others who might be struggling to get started and they just feel stuck? That's such a terrible word, stuck.
No, I know that feeling. I think the one thing that I would want to say to somebody who feels stuck right now is it won't always be like this. Again, God sends us seasons to season us.
Yeah.
And if we could, to what your point you just made, grow through what we go through. John Maxwell says this: miracles only happen where there is a problem or a need.
Wow.
So if there's a problem and a few that recognize it, that's miracle territory. So whatever it is that you're stuck in, whatever seems too hard for you, repeat the biblical promise. My God will supply all of my needs according to his riches, not mine. All things work together for the good of them who love God and are called according to his purpose. I give seed to the sower and bread for food, meaning I give opportunity to the one that's working the opportunity. All giving you an indication that all you have is all you need to get you from where you are to where you want to be. Because you will never be given more than you're given the capacity to handle. Those are all promises that you get to pack in your biblical purse and say, God, what about this?
Yeah.
You said, like, I literally would go to God and say, God, you said I need you to pay up on this.
Mm-hmm.
And my situation would change. I wouldn't say that it was ever easy. God's instructions are not necessarily easy, but they're simple.
Yeah.
And there's a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I talk a lot about self-care. So I will ask you, what is your favorite self-care practice?
That you said that because I just said to myself this morning, I said, Mignon girl, you gotta do better about this self-care thing. I am not self-caring right now. I think my favorite self-care thing is probably my hair routine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I try to get it as big as I can get it, you know. So it takes
It takes a lot of work.
it's
I
a
know.
thing, yeah. Probably my hair routine is my favorite self-care um routine. Or an indulgence that I have is getting my nails done. I love
Yeah.
to go sit in a salon and have my nails done. And it's something I'm really far behind on.
Yeah.
But I think between those two, those are my favorite self-care things. Are those considered self-care?
100%, 100%.
Okay.
I mean, I like my bubble baths, you know? It's like
Uh-huh.
everybody's got, and then I love spending time with my dogs and like reading, sitting in front of the fireplace with a dog or two on my lap with a book open and is like my dream day. Yeah.
I gotta get better at that, Michelle. Like I don't do any like I do nothing for myself. And I've never been one to easily slow down.
Yeah.
Maybe something I do that self-care. I love tea
Oh, yeah.
and I love beautiful teacups
Oh,
and I
perfect.
love honey. So tea and honey and sitting down because tea causes you to sit down and take a pause. So
It does. It does. I love
maybe
that.
that's a
Yeah, and I
self-care.
have like I'm always getting different cups and glasses and my in fact my son goes to Goodwill and he buys stuff at Goodwill and then he sells it on eBay. And he'll
Uh-huh.
bring me home cups and say, Mom, I thought you'd like this cup. You know, so I bought it for you. I got some great cups. Great, great cups. What message would you like to give your 12-year-old self?
That is so good because I've thought about that. Oh, I've thought about it to my 5-year-old self. I want to tell my 12-year-old self that even though she feels like no one sees her, soon people won't get enough of looking at you.
Yeah.
That's what I would want to tell my 12-year-old self because I felt not seen, I felt not heard, I felt not good enough. And I would tell her that the voice inside of her head that's telling her all of those things is lying to her.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's so good. I like to do just a rapid echo where I say a word and you can say a word, or you can say, we can have a conversation. There's no wrong way to do it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Ooh, I'm never good at these. Okay.
It's just fun, though. It's all fun. So our first word is going to be balance.
Harmony.
I love that.
I
Strength.
believe there's no such thing as balance in motherhood and business ownership.
Yeah.
So instead, I heard Lisa Nichols say it like this: search for harmony. When you are there, be present. You won't be able to be present for everything, but when you are there, be present, be in the moment.
Yeah. And since I said we could have a conversation, one of the ways I like to talk about balance and harmony is a rock and roll band,
Mm-hmm,
and I love Bon Jovi. That's
mm-hmm,
my band since I've been, 14 years old.
mm-hmm,
So sometimes John is up there singing, and other times David is got a keyboard solo, and other times Tito has a drum solo, and all these different parts, it's not always even, right?
mm-hmm,
But it's
mm-hmm,
perfect harmony. And
mm-hmm.
that's one of the things that I love.
That is so good, Michelle.
It's just
I'm going to be using that. That is so good.
it makes so much sense, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's balance. It's not all
That's
even.
it.
There's no way to make it even.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. How about strength? What is strength?
Mm, courage.
Courage. I love that.
Mm,
And wellness.
mm. The first word that came to my mouth, my mind was wealthy.
Okay. And so it's like a three-legged chair, stool. You have to have all parts of it, and wealth is
Yeah.
part of that. So
Yeah.
perfect. Last one, confident.
Ooh, confident. The first thing that came to me was lack.
Okay.
My whole life I lacked confidence. And I didn't confidently own the space that I'm in.
Yeah.
But when I learned to own my now, then I won.
Yeah.
When I realized that OWN, my NOW, then I WON. It was about perspective and changing that perspective that the things that I thought in my head were valuable and valued, that they were smart and that they were important, and that I was worthy to be heard, worthy to be in the room, worthy to take up space.
Worthy is such an important word. I will tell you, I've had so much fun, and I could go on and I could just chat with you for hours, and we could record it or not record it because I just think you're adorable and I love you.
It was,
One place in particular you want the listeners to go to? I'll have all your socials in the show notes, but one place in particular?
yeah, the cupcakecollection.com where we ship cupcakes nationwide. Or my favorite place to hang out with my followers in this internet space is on Instagram at Mignon.Francois.
I love that. All right, two more words for our rapid echo. Well, it's not really for our rapid echo. This is how I like to end all of my podcasts. Tell me, what does the word dare mean to you?
Dare?
Yeah.
Ooh. What I just heard was dare to be different. I a dare is like a challenge or a bet. And I want to dare to be authentically me. And the more I can do that, the more I like me.
How about the word care?
Mm. There's so many things I care about, Michelle,
Yeah.
I care about how I make people feel. I care about what people have the capacity to handle concerning me or because of me. I care about the state of the celebration of little kids whose parents can't afford birthday cake. I care that I get a chance to be with my grown adult children who are wives and husbands and
I love that.
parents themselves. And in all things, there's not a care that God isn't concerned about.
I love that so much. I'm just writing. I always write these down. This is the Dare to Care podcast. And so what I like to know is like, what does that title mean to people? And so for Mignon Francois, it means to be authentically yourself, and that God will take care of you. I lost your volume. Say that again.
That's the way I feel.
And yeah, and
that was so good.
This is why I take notes, and
I love that so much.
yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, dare to be authentic, or be authentically yourself, and God will take care of you. Is a perfect way to describe what I'm looking for in the Dare to Care podcast. So thank you for that too.
You know why that matters so much to me? Because I think our authenticity is holiness.
Yeah.
The more that we walk in what we are created to be, the more we show up holy, acceptable. I believe the word holy actually means like authentic. I have to check myself on that.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that.
But to be authentic, I think is moving to our authenticity is moving to our holiness, to be more like God.
Yeah.
It's
who he created
and
us to
purposed you to
be.
be. Yeah, who he purposed you and created you to be.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that so much.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for hanging out with us. And I appreciate you. I am so excited for my listeners to hear this and watch, because we're going to be on YouTube now. You'll be my first YouTube video. And thank you so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate you. And for all of our listeners here, please remember to dare to care, because caring is cool. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Dare to Care with Michelle and being part of the Dare to Care movement. Remember to embrace your authenticity with grace in every step of your journey. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it. Always remember to dare to care, because caring is cool. This is Michelle Wyman, your empowerment coach. See you next time.